Okay, let's start with a question. What if the smartest move in a booming AI market is to do absolutely nothing?
And what if real wealth isn't actually built by chasing every single opportunity that comes along, but by patiently waiting for what's inevitable?
And here is the last one. What if the most powerful advantage you can have right now is to simply think slower than everyone else? These questions get right to the heart of the philosophy of Shane Parrish, the incredible mind behind the Farnam Street blog and the Knowledge Project. It's a go-to resource for some of the smartest people in the investing world. So today, we're going to dive in and break down his core principles from A to Z to help us think more clearly and win the long game. First up, let's talk about how to play a completely different game than pretty much everyone else in the market. It really all starts with seeing the world in a different way. Let's kick things off with A for asymmetry. Now, the big idea here is that you don't need to be 100% certain to make a fantastic decision. All you need is a situation where the potential downside is small, but the potential upside is just massive. Parrish isn't out there chasing returns. He's waiting, patiently, for those rare moments when the market gets something fundamentally wrong. Now let's apply that idea to what's happening right now with B for bubbles. Look, Parrish isn't saying AI is fake, not at all. He thinks it's an enormously powerful thing for society. But here's the problem. When everybody rushes into the same investment, all that hype inflates prices to crazy levels. It basically pulls all the potential profits from the future into today's price, leaving you with very little upside and a whole lot of risk. And this leads to a really counterintuitive move. While a lot of people see holding cash as just being lazy, Parrish sees it as a source of incredible power. In his world, cash isn't about retreating from the game. Cash is optionality. It's patience that you've turned into the power to act decisively when one of those truly asymmetric opportunities finally shows up. He's holding a lot of cash right now, not because he's a pessimist, but because he says he just can't find anything smart to do with it.
And that really shines a light on the mental toll of playing this different game. I mean, going against the crowd feels lonely. It's tough to stand still when you see everyone else rushing toward the same shiny new thing. But that independence, that willingness to be lonely, that's precisely where the real advantage is found. So if you're going to resist the pull of the crowd, you can't just rely on pure willpower. It'll crack under pressure. You need a system. And that brings us to our next section, designing your decisions. D is for decision rules. Parrish is crystal clear about this. Your willpower is a limited resource. You just can't count on it when you're under pressure or facing temptation. So what's the solution? Well, the best performers don't just try harder. They build systems. They create simple, automatic rules that make the right behavior the default. They literally automate their own discipline. Parrish shares this brilliant story about the Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman. During an interview, his phone rang, and afterwards, Kahneman explained this personal rule he has. I never say yes on the phone. And why is that? Because the social pressure of being in the moment makes it incredibly hard to say no. By creating a simple rule, he completely bypasses the need for willpower. He gives himself space to think and then respond later, which is usually with a no. It's a simple, elegant system that defeats a really powerful cognitive bias. Next up, H for high standards. This is all about your personal operating system. And Parrish makes a critical point here. Don't get obsessed with holding other people to a high standard. Start with yourself. When you hold yourself to a higher standard of work, of quality, of urgency, you set the tone for everyone around you. Suddenly, mediocrity just isn't an option anymore. He tells that famous story about Henry Kissinger. When an aide would give him a memo, Kissinger would just look at it and ask, "Is that the best you can do?" The aide, thinking Kissinger found a flaw, would take it back and work on it again and again. Finally, when the aide insisted it was the absolute best he could possibly do, Kissinger said, "Okay, I'll read it now." The lesson is that we're all capable of so much more than we think on our first try. So having a system is one thing, but what you feed into that system is just as important. In our incredibly noisy world, the next huge challenge is finding the real signal. I is for information diet. We live with this illusion that if we just consume more and more information, we'll make better decisions. Parrish argues the exact opposite is true. As information has become so abundant, our brains are working overtime just trying to filter it all out, which leaves less and less mental energy for actual deep thought. The solution isn't to consume more, it's to be ruthless about the quality of what you let in. And this brings us to that vital difference between noise and signal.
The noise? That's the daily chatter, the endless market predictions, the hot takes, the hype. It's all designed to grab your attention. The signal, on the other hand, is the underlying truth, the first principles, the deep, nuanced understanding. The market doesn't reward the people who react to every bit of noise. It rewards those who wait patiently for a clear signal. So the takeaway here is crucial. The quality of your thinking is a direct result of the quality of your inputs. If you consume a diet of shallow, bite-sized content, you're training your brain to make shallow, reactive decisions. But if you engage in long-form thinking, reading books, having deep conversations, you're sharpening your ability to see the world with real clarity. Now, tying all of these ideas together is the final and maybe the most powerful set of principles. This is the mindset that underpins everything else, winning the long game. T stands for time horizon, and honestly, this is one of the biggest aha moments in Parrish's entire philosophy. Most of the world is competing in this frantic race for next quarter's results. By simply choosing to lengthen your time horizon to 5, 10, even 20 years, you just step out of that race. All of a sudden, you're playing a game that almost no one else is, and your competition basically disappears. And when you play that long game, your whole definition of success starts to change. W is for wealth as a byproduct. Parrish points out that the most successful people he knows aren't really driven by money. For them, money is just a way to keep score. The real driver is a deep love for the game itself. True wealth isn't the goal. It's the inevitable result of making sound, principled decisions over a very long time. And finally, we land on Z for zero regret decisions. This is the ultimate filter. It's about asking yourself a simple question. Will my future self, the person I'm going to be in 10 or 20 years, thank me for making this choice? This aligns your actions today with your values for tomorrow, creating a life of integrity, no matter what the immediate financial outcome is. So, when you put it all together, playing a different game, designing your decisions, finding the signal, and focusing on the long term, it all boils down to this one incredibly powerful idea. In a world that's drowning in noise and complexity, clarity is the ultimate unfair advantage. You know, if listening to this made you pause and think differently, even just for a moment, then you're already ahead of the curve.